Now, efficient portfolio, in the same way, when you think about efficiency, it is a portfolio that gives the maximum benefit with the lowest loss or risk. You get the highest return, but lowest risk or lowest loss. So I want you to write, and before you write, assume that you have several portfolios. So we have portfolio A, that is a group of assets. Then you have another group of assets, which is B. Then you have C. So yesterday we agreed that when you are making a portfolio, your main aim is to reduce risk. That is why you are doing the combination. Now, when you realize that A gives you a higher return, but a lower risk compared to B and C, then A is efficient. That is the best combination. That is the best combination that you're supposed to pick up or take as an investor. So we can write efficient portfolios are portfolios that dominate others. These are portfolios that dominate others. They are portfolios that dominate others in terms of risk and return. Efficient portfolio are portfolios that dominate others in terms of risk and return. That means that it is the best. If somebody dominates you in terms of risk, it means that is less risky, is the best. Risk is a negative thing. So if somebody is good when it comes to risk, it means that is more lower in terms of risk compared to the others. Therefore, when we say that it dominates others, it means that it has lower risk but the highest return. I will repeat that efficient portfolio are portfolios that dominate others. They are portfolios that dominate others. They are portfolios that dominate others in terms of risk and return. In terms of risk and return. They have the highest return and the lowest risk. They have the highest return and the lowest risk. They have the highest return and the lowest risk. So let's look at a diagram to illustrate this. Sorry, somebody has joined. Okay, so that is the diagram for a efficient portfolio. So I want to draw this diagram so that I can be able to illustrate. We have here returns. That is a return. This one is a risk. And then we have this curve that goes like this. This is a curve that moves like that. It is called efficient frontier curve. The curve is called efficient frontier curve. And then we have this straight line that is tangent. The line is tangent to efficient frontier curve. This particular line is just another portfolio. It's not that it's a different line, it's just another portfolio, just like the rest. So this particular portfolio touches here. It is tangent to the frontier curve. Just like these other ones, it is tangent to the frontier curve. So I want you to draw that, and then we proceed. Now, efficient frontier curve, it is the curve in which any portfolio that falls on it is efficient portfolio. So efficient portfolio are the portfolios that fall on this efficient frontier curve. How do we know that they are efficient? We say that when you compare it with other colleagues in the same category, they outperform them. They are better. So let's think about the risk. In this particular case, we have risk. So it means that given the same level of risk, assuming that risk moves like this, so this one is 5, 10, 15, 20, and then we have returns. So that we have here 10, 20, 30, this one is 35. So given the same level of risk, efficient portfolio has got the highest return. We are looking at it from this point. Assuming that you have different portfolios which have got the same level of risk, which one is the best out of them? Out of the three that have got the same level of risk, the best one is the one that has got the highest return. So, because there is no need of you picking a portfolio that is having a lowest return. Just 1 minute. Oh, yeah. Sorry, so I'm saying that in case you have different assets or portfolio, as we call them portfolios, so there are three, and then you have the same level of risk, where risk is 12 here, risk is 12 here, and the risk is 12 here, and you are told to decide on which one to invest in, the only thing that will help you now decide is the return, because they have the same level of risk. The difference will now be on return. So you'll ask yourself, which one has the highest return? So if one is 10, another one is 13, another one is 7, the efficient one is this. Why? We are saying that it dominates the rest. B dominates A and B, A and C, because given the same level of risk, B has the highest return. That is the interpretation that we shall have here. That is the interpretation that we shall have there. Okay? So let's proceed. I've seen what you guys are saying. That is true. It is not very clear, but I've called somebody. He's going to come now. He's on the way. So it's going to sort the issue of light. We have two lights. One is here, another one is at the middle. So the one in the middle has a problem. It is going to be sorted. The one that is here is okay. That is why you are seeing the board is not very clear, but I've called the electrician is coming. So I'm aware. Sorry for that. Where you're not seeing, you can just let me know. I'm saying that this is a curve that moves like that. And we have here A, B, C, A, B. This one is M, M. Then here is B. Then we have this one here, E. Then we have F here. We have G, E, F, G. Then we have here H, I, J. So I hope that with my assistance, you'll be able to understand what we are doing and you can draw the diagram well. So let's look at this particular interpretation. I think I've explained here so that when we are writing it, you can be able to understand. With this illustration, you can be able to understand what we mean. So what are we saying? You can write and say that in terms of returns, andika hapo chini yake, in terms of returns, then the first paragraph you say B dominates E. In terms of returns, B dominates E since it has the highest return given the same level of risk. So when you look at it in terms of returns, A, we cannot compare because on this level of risk, A is alone. On this level of risk, A is alone. But we can be able to compare B and E. And we are saying that given a level of risk, which is 10, B has the highest return. B has 20, but AE has got 10. So B is the one that is dominant. Sorry, I was assisting one of our teachers to start class. There was a network problem in his studio. Sorry for that. Okay, so we can proceed. So I was saying that in terms of returns, B dominates E since it has the highest return given the same level of risk. Number two, M dominates H. M dominates H since it has the highest return given the same level of risk. So that is, we are now comparing M. So M dominates H and F. M dominates H and F because they are in the same level of risk, but it has the highest return compared to the rest. So it is the highest, it dominates them. You can't see anything at all. I'm sending on WhatsApp. Sorry. D dominates I, J, and G because given the same level of risk, which is 20, it has the highest return at 35. Let's look at it in terms of risk. So the first one was in terms of return. Now let's look at it in terms of risk. In terms of risk, you can now say, A dominates E, F, and G. A dominates E, F, and G. That is in terms of risk. A dominates E, F, and G because given the same level of return, which is 10, the same level of return, A has the lowest risk, is the lowest risk asset or portfolio given the same level of return. Both of them gives you a return of 10, but A has got 5. The rest have got more than 5. So therefore, it is the best. The next one, B. B dominates H and I. B dominates H and I because given the same level of return, in terms of risk, it is the less risky one. This is the one that is less risky at 10. The rest are 15 and 20. Given the same level of return, B is the one that is less risky. Then the last one is M. M dominates J because given the same level of return, which is 30, M has got 15 level of risk, while J is 20. So that is the interpretation. When we look at the efficient frontier curve, that is how you can interpret it. Therefore, we can conclude, you can say, conclusion, A, B, M, and D. A, B, M, and D, those are the ones that falls on the efficient frontier curve. They are efficient portfolios. So you say A, B, M, and D are dominant. A, B, M, and D are dominant, and they fall along the efficient frontier curve. They are dominant and they fall along the efficient frontier curve. They are dominant and they fall along efficient frontier curve. So then let's now proceed. Let's look at optimum portfolio. Optimum portfolio. Which is also called market portfolio. Optimum portfolio or market portfolio. So optimum portfolio, or if somebody say that you are having optimum level of production, that is the highest level of production. So if your production is at the optimum level, it is the highest possible. Now, portfolios are also categorized as optimum. Sometimes you can buy assets from companies that are growing. Like for example, Safaricom in the year 2008, 2009, Safaricom was growing. Remember, Safaricom started mostly in the early 2000s. So in 2008, it was at the highest growth. During that time, the value of the shares were very high. They used to sell at a very high price and people were buying. That time, it was one of the companies that we could call blue chip companies. Now, blue chip companies are companies that are having potential of growth. They are having high returns and they have high demands in terms of investment. People want to put money in them. Now, if you select the companies that are having highest returns and you put them together, you're going to have the maximum return or optimum return. That is now what we call optimum portfolio. It is a group of assets that are in blue chip companies, the companies that are doing very well in the market. I want you to write something and say that after writing this, you can now say that these are those portfolios that contain shares of blue chip companies. These are those portfolios. These are those portfolios. These are those portfolios that contain shares. These are those portfolios that contain shares of blue chip companies. They contain shares of blue chip companies. Full stop. This optimum portfolio is the portfolio. This optimum portfolio is the portfolio. This optimum portfolio is the portfolio. This optimum portfolio is the portfolio that guarantees the highest return per unit of risk. They guarantee the highest return per unit of risk. They guarantee the highest return per unit of risk. They guarantee the highest return per unit of risk. It is the highest that portfolio. It is that portfolio, sorry. It is that portfolio. It is that portfolio that is found at the point of tangency. It is that portfolio. It is that portfolio that is found. It is that portfolio that is found at the point of tangency. It is that portfolio that is found at the point of tangency between the highest indifference curve and the efficient frontier curve. It is that portfolio. It is that portfolio that is found. It is that portfolio that is found at the point of tangency. At the point of tangency. Tangency. At the point of tangency, that means that when you have something touching on the other like that, that point where they touch is now the tangent. So if we have two curves and they are touching themselves or each other at some point, that point where they meet is what we call tangency. So we have frontier curves, which we have said looks like this. And then we also have indifferent curves, which looks like this. So where they meet, that is where the efficient portfolio is, the optimum portfolio is. Now, I will repeat what I'm saying because now you understand. I said that it is that portfolio that is found at the point of tangency between the highest indifferent curve, between the highest indifferent curve and the efficient frontier curve. Now, how do you know the highest indifferent curves? Indifferent curves are curves that do not meet. They do not meet. You can only shift from one to another. So let's have a curve like this. These are indifferent curves. So here we have risk, and then here we have return. Now you can see that the returns are moving up. Both of them have got the same level of return at some point, but different level of risk. The risk level varies. It means that if you are talking about investment on this indifferent curve, then you can get some return, which is very good. The return is here. But if you pick a different indifferent curve, you can get the same return, but now the risk is higher from 5 to 10. So what are indifferent curves? Indifferent curves gives you the same level of satisfaction. So you cannot say that you want to move from here to here. You can only shift. Once you are satisfied with this, you shift to a different curve. So in this case, we call these ones indifferent curves. The highest indifferent curves, which is IC1, this one indifferent curve 2, indifferent curve 3. The one that we can call the highest is the one that has got lower risk but higher return. The one that is on the left is the highest indifferent curve, because investing in this kind of portfolios will incur you lowest risk with the same level of return that you could have gotten when you invest on the other two. So this one is the highest. It is the best indifferent curves that you could choose. But now if you know that you can choose among the indifferent curves, you can choose this one because of the return and the risk level. Risk is lower, but return is here. You are not very sure. You might not be very sure at what point do I have the optimum portfolio, because the portfolios could be here, the portfolio can be here, the portfolio they can fall anywhere. These portfolios are the highest, but which one is the optimum? Which one is the optimum portfolio? So that brings us to the second diagram. I'm hoping that you've drawn something that is close to this. Kindly do so that we come to the second diagram. Kindly do so that we can come to the second diagram. This one you can have here 15, so that we have level of risk increasing, the return is going up. And that is why we're saying this is the highest. The portfolios that fall here are the highest at any given point. Can we proceed and draw the second diagram? Given any level of return, the ones that fall here are the best. assuming that the return is 10 here, this one is maybe 8, we have here 6, then 4. So if you compare the investment on this and the investment on this and this and this, you'll always realize that the one that falls here are the best compared to the one that falls here, because at any given point, for a return of 6, the risk is higher here compared to this. For a return of 10, the risk is higher on these ones. The risks are higher here compared to this and this. So the risk level increases as you go that side when the return is the same across all of them. So therefore, the ones that fall here are the highest, they are the best. But now we want to get specific one. Amongst this and this and this one, which one is now the best if you were to choose on the same in different curve, which portfolio level will you choose? So allow me to wrap this. And draw something again, quite similar to that. So we have something that is very close. Then you have the curve that we drew. This is now the efficient frontier curve that we drew earlier, EFC. We call it EFC, the one that we drew earlier, efficient frontier curve. So we also have indifference that run like this. So the first one was running like that. So these are the indifferent curves that we had. This is also indifferent curve. This is also indifferent curve. They were running parallel like that. They don't touch each other. And we say that optimum portfolio is the one that falls at the tangent point. Mahali zinaguzana at the tangent point. It is the optimum. So we can call that point. We can call this point M. Then we call this one D. We can call this one B. Then we have our A. Now, if you remember what we were drawing earlier, we were having M, A, B, M, D, where D was at the top. They were falling on a certain line like that. So, if that was the line that they were having, and all these portfolios, we will say that all of them are efficient portfolio. Out of this efficient portfolio that we identified earlier, we were looking at the optimum, the best that you could choose among A, B, M, and D according to our first diagram. So we identified that the one that is in tangent point between indifferent curve and efficient curve, which happened to be M in this case, is the one that we call optimum. When you look at the way indifferent curves are drawn, there is no way it could have been tangent with this. That could be a different curve, which is not indifferent curve. This could have been a different curve. Indifference curves run like that. So it was only possible that M could touch or could be at the tangency. So you draw something like that, then you have your B, A, M touching, and then we have B, the one that touches like this, mali zinaguzana, not where they are crossing each other, but where they are just meeting. That is the optimum. You call it market portfolio. Market portfolio. Market portfolio. That point is called market portfolio. So I want you to proceed and say, this one is still risk. Risk level was here. And then you have the turn. This and turn. I want us now to introduce a subtopic called capital market line. That is an area that is also very examinable. I think even last sitting, they brought something. If not last sitting, but the other sitting, they can tell you to draw a capital market line. The examiner can tell you to draw a capital market line. Let me check the sitting. So chora hii ukimaliza, tuendelee. So I want you to listen carefully when we are handling this capital market line thing as well. For your reference, you look at December 2022, question number 2. December 2022, question number 2. December 2022, question number 2, B. Question number 2B, Roman 3, is talking about capital market line. Write that one somewhere, December 2022. Question number 2B, that is just last year. Roman 3, it was talking about capital market line, which they call CML. Capital market line, CML, bracket CML. It is an equation. It is an equation for portfolio formula. When you talk about portfolio, I said that there is a way it calls a risk. So CML is what, it is the model that is used to calculate or to come up with the formula for calculating the risk under portfolio. Remember, I talked about CAPM. So we have CAPM, and then we have now CML. Sawa. CML is for portfolio. Then we shall look at CAPM later. So this line, it is the one that is used to calculate the function. That function is what we use to calculate risk in a portfolio or return on a portfolio. You know what functions are? When we have a line like this, right? Where we say the x all over dy is 0. You remember those things in high school? So this function line is like CML. That line is now what can be used to calculate or come up with a formula for calculating a return on a portfolio. You are trying to calculate now return on investment that are in a form of group portfolio. So CML and portfolio is one and the same thing. So you write for me and say, capital market line is also known as a portfolio equation. Capital market line is also known as a portfolio equation. It is a straight line. Capital market line is also known as portfolio equation. Capital market line is also known as portfolio equation. It is a straight line that passes through 2 points, just like the way I've demonstrated. It is a straight line that passes through 2 points. It is a straight line that passes through 2 points. The first point, that is number 1, a risk-free rate of return point. It passes through 2 points. The first one is risk-free rate of return. Point. Risk-free rate of return point. The second one is market portfolio point. You remember where market portfolio point was? In what we've just done, you know where market portfolio point is. Market portfolio, where M is. When you draw like this, we are saying that it was tangent and M was somewhere here. This is the market portfolio point. Then the risk-free rate of return, we agreed that there are some level where there is a risk-free, where risk is 0. So that means that at that point, it is a level of return where if you invest, at that point, there is no risk that you are taking at all. You're not taking any risk. And in our introduction class yesterday, I said that there are some investments which do not have a risk. Kama treasury bills and bonds, they don't have risk. So that means that if you invest in treasury bills and bonds, it is a risk-free investment, a risk-free asset. It means that if you combine it with other assets to make a portfolio, so you take treasury bills, you take Safaricom shares, you take Kenya Airways. Kenya Airways and Safaricom have got some risk, but treasury bill doesn't have. So we are saying that as an investor, your investment started from somewhere. It started from a point where you don't have risk, and then ukaanza kuongeza risk. The first one that you put on treasury bill was a risk-free investment. And then sasa ukaamua kuongeza zingine in the same portfolio, we now have got some risk. So your portfolio is composed of 2 investments. The first one is risk-free, which is treasury bill, and then others, which are risky investment. So now we are saying that as an investor, you need a return. You need to get some return, but we also have some risk. We have some risk. And so in a risk-free investment or in a portfolio with a risk-free asset, you will start getting some return when you are still not having risk at all. Risk is 0, but already you have a return because you invested in a risk-free asset. That return is called RF, risk-free return on investment. These are the returns. These are the returns column. Risk is here. At this level, already kuna return unapata or some money without having any risk. Risk is 0. Then now from here, when you invest the risk asset now, when you invest in the risk asset, now the risk starts moving from here. It starts moving from here. So risk inaenda ya kwanza, 5, 10, as you increase more returns. So the returns now move with the risk because investments from this point coming upwards are risky investments. They are risky investment. So they have some elements of risk. So you invest kidogo, you also incur some risk kidogo, and that is why now it moves like that. Now we are saying that this particular capital market line, it joins 2 points. The first point is the risk-free point, which is here, and the second point is the market portfolio. So that means that you need to have a line that moves like this. You have dot here, then you have dot here, alafu unaweka ruler. You come and join it. That line is now what we call CML. It joins 2 points. The first point is the point where we had optimum portfolio, which we call market portfolio. Optimum portfolio, where you get the highest return. So it joins 2 points, the highest return point, which we call optimum, and the risk-free return point. And that is what I've said, a risk-free rate of return and market portfolio. That is how your diagram should look like. It doesn't start from the 0 point, it starts from somewhere. Now, in exams, even if you don't know where to put it, lakini umeambiwa draw CML, one thing that you know, it joins 2 points. The first one is a risk-free point, and that risk-free point does not start from 0. It starts from somewhere in the middle. You might not know the value, but you know it is in the middle. Put something in the middle, just somewhere like this, and then guess that there should be another one katikati. Once you join them, even if you've not indicated the value that is here, already you have a mark. Because the examiner will tell you, plot, like in this particular case, the examiner was saying that draw the capital market line, calculate the beta of stock A and B, those are security. So once you've been told draw capital market line, even if you don't know the value that is here, you have drawn it. You have drawn it. That is a good thing. You know where it goes or the direction it points. So let's now proceed. Ignore about this for now. We are going to draw a serious one. We're going to draw a serious one. That was just for illustration. We can now draw a serious one, but proceed kidogo and say, after writing this, you say, it assumes, that is CML, capital market line, assumes. CML assumes that investors combine risky assets with risk-free assets. Na hiyo ndio nimesema, sina ukweli. It is assuming that investors are aware that we have treasury bill which is risk-free, and also we have other investments which are risky. So the investor is going to combine the two. So it assumes that every investor will always combine the risk-free investment plus the risk one. And that's what the paragraph is saying. So it assumes that investors combine risk-free assets with risky assets. It assumes that the investor combines a risk-free asset with a risky asset to form capital portfolio. To form a capital portfolio. Capital portfolio, because it is for capital market line. To form a capital portfolio. Therefore, you can now draw CML. Na ushike vile inakaa, utaambiwa plot. Unaanza kufikiria hii kitu inakanga aje. Plot. So we have this. Then we have this. And then we have our M. You know, I can get it. I'm just assuming that our M was somewhere here. I'm not very sure. But you see now, we have to do something. So here, we call it RF, that is risk-free. the investment here or the return at that level is risk-free. So this is the area where we have risk-free investment or return. That point. And then here we have M. And then here we call this line CML, yani capital market line. Sawa. Capital market line. Sawa. And now we have our EFC. You know what it means? Efficient portfolio. We have not drawn the indifference curve. Otherwise, that indifference curve could have touched here. Ingeguza hii point pia kama tungechora hiyo, because it was actually tangent at M. Then we can call this part returns. And then this part, we call it risk. That is what we are told, right? Chora, alafu niambie umemaliza, tuendelee, right? Haya, sasa kishachora hii, chini yake unaandika, unasema ERP means expected return of the portfolio. Expected return of the portfolio. Please help us see what is below the drawing. That is what I'm now reading. I'm now reading that so that you can know. Ndio naeleza. Nasema hii ni ERP. ERP means expected return of the portfolio. Expected return of the portfolio. And then we have standard deviation. This one. The one that we wrote yesterday. See, tulifanya. Standard deviation of the portfolio. So that is standard deviation. It bracket risk of the portfolio. Risk of the portfolio. And then we have ERM. ERM, that is expected return. E is expected return of the market. Expected return of the market. Expected return of the market. And then RF, the last one, risk-free rate of return. The last one is the risk-free rate of return. Risk-free rate of the return. risk rate of return. So are we together up to there? Kama kuna mtu ajaona mahali ama kuna swali anasema. ERP, expired return of the market, of the portfolio, expired return of the portfolio, standard deviation, that is in bracket risk of the portfolio, expired return of the portfolio market, sorry, ERM, expired return of the market, and then RF, risk rate of return. That is what we have. We can now proceed. Allow me to rub. So let's look at CML equation. So CML equation now is CML is equal to RF. So CML return, that is return on investment according to capital market line, is given as RF, which you now know, plus into bracket ERM minus RF into bracket standard deviation of the portfolio or lower standard deviation of the market. This one is the risk of the market as a whole. And then there is risk of the portfolio that you have picked. Because we are assuming that in the market, we have so many investments. And so you can pick a portfolio, but still there are some other assets that you didn't pick in the market. So we have the risk on the investment that you picked over the total risk in the market. That is this one. So we are saying I want us to look at illustration or exercise using this formula. Given the following, number one, we have ERP given as 10%. Then we have the risk of the portfolio given as 5%. Then we have ERM 12%. Then we have M given as 6%. Then we have RF given as 8%. Required, the last one is RF, 8%. So assuming that you're given this information, the expected return of the portfolio is given as 10%. We have the risk of the portfolio, which is standard deviation, as 5%. Expected return in the market is 12%. Risk of the market is 6%. And risk-free rate of return is 8%. Risk-free rate of return is 8%. Required, determine the CML returns of the above portfolio. CML return of the above portfolio. CML return of the above portfolio. Determine the CML return of the above portfolio. So you just come and write the same formula and say, solution, CML return of the portfolio CML return of the portfolio, that is RP, is given as RF RF plus. Why do we have RF plus? Why do we have RF plus? I want you to understand something. When we are drawing this, we say that RF starts from this. We are looking at the return of the portfolio, the total return. That is the return for the risk-free asset and the risky asset. So the one that we have that we are very sure of is the risk-free asset. So whatever other return we are going to get, we are going to add it on the risk-free asset return that we are already sure of. Juu hii hatutaguza, hii tuko sure tapata. Sasa ile nyingine yenye iko risky, we shall now calculate it with the coefficient of risk. So we are having the total return the market, which we call expected return of the market, ERM, expected return in the market, the total expected return in the market, and then we have RF. And that is why in this formula, we want to get this portion. We want to get this portion, this particular area, where the expected return of the market is this one, which is risky. And then we have some risk element because we have risk level here. So it is basically, it is like we are getting the change in this particular angle. So we're looking at the turn here. This one. That is the area that we're looking at. And how do you get this area? We take the total return in the market minus the risk-free rate of return so that you can get this one here, kati-kati. That is what we did here. We are getting the return in the middle, which is the return for the risky asset. This is the return for the risky asset. That is this one here. We call it risk premium. It is the return that has got some risk. So it is a premium that has got some risk. So it is called risk premium. It is the difference between this, because this one here include all of it up to down here, 0. So for us to know the only portion that we want, this one, we now take this minus this. Mathematically, it is okay, still. So we have taken the risk premium times now the change or the difference in risk coefficient of risk of the portfolio over risk of the market. When you multiply this return with the coefficient of the risk that involves in it, you're going to get the return on risky asset. This one will be the return on risky asset. Plus now the return on riskless or risk-free asset. So we have risk-free asset, and then you have the return. Don't worry, network is trying to misbehave.